What's up, guys? So, I had one of my moments in which I just think about the way things are going, how people around me feel, how I feel, what's going on, and stuff that I see on the news, and the way that people who I am surrounded by are reacting, what they're saying, all that good stuff or bad stuff, however it may be perceived. And then I remembered that about 2 years ago, I made this one video on a character trait that I considered was incredibly vital for me becoming the person that I am today and actually being able to experience life in a better way. And I don't remember what I said in that video, but I do remember that I mentioned my music teacher as being the person who possessed this specific trait. And the trait that I think would make the world better is patience. Which I gotta say, I'm not as good at it as I wish I were. Like, I am pretty patient at work. I can withstand many annoyances, many frustrations, many disappointments, whatever it is, with minimal to no complaint whatsoever. But when it comes to my personal life, I tend to be not very patient at all. And it's strange because at some point I used to be patient, but then I realized that tolerating so much made me miserable. So I guess I became a little less patient with some things, a little less unwilling to be, to accept some things. And when I think about patience in the grand scheme of things, I think it would make the difference in the world because there's many people who I have observed and people who I have met who it seems like all they needed is a little bit of time, a little bit of just being understood, being tolerated, being helped, and for you to be someone who is consistent and also just understanding above all. And when it comes to me personally, as a friend, I think I can do that. As a colleague, I think I can do that. Maybe because I feel like I possess uh, patience a little more selflessly, I can practice it better on folks who are not involved with me. But when it comes to like my own personal life, I'm not patient with myself. And as a result, I tend to not be very patient with anyone who's trying to get involved with me either. And I've been finding that it's a major flaw in me as a person. Like with my best friends, for example, I have always had a little bit of issues with them. Not like severe issues, but like in the past I have heard a lot of complaints about how I tend to be a little rough when it comes to certain things. And I'm like, I mean, the reason I'm telling you things the way I'm telling you is because I can vent at you and I trust you and you're my go to person. So I'm sorry if I'm saying something wrong to you that you feel offended because I thought that, like I said, I could trust you and that you would be patient with me in the same manner that I am patient with you. But I realized that that's not it. But then when it comes to my dating life as well, that has suffered too because I feel like in the past some of my failures have been absolutely my fault. And when I think about it, it was because I was just so unwilling to just give a guy a chance, give a guy time, give a guy just what can I say? The annoyances, just cope with them better and just tolerate them, let him be. But at the same time, the way that I make it worse is I tend to want to pressure to reach the solution. Like, I like to describe myself as someone who is proactive, and when I am not seeing the action from someone who's trying to be involved with me personally, I get a little frustrated. Because, like, I'll never forget my second boyfriend ever. I was incredibly mean and intolerant to him. Because all he kept telling me was just, give me time, this is new for me. I'm trying to be adjusted. I'm in the military too. I have a lot going on. I'm trying to make it. And I'm like, okay, I get it. But how are we progressing? I wanted to see results fast and now. And then I also dislike that sometimes anything that I would suggest just wasn't being implemented, and that just frustrates me so much because I'm like, why am I there? Why am I there with you, being your source of support, if you're not recurring to me? It kind of offended me. But now looking back, all that boy needed was patience. And if I would have given him the patience that he needed, our relationship would probably have succeeded. But maybe not, because when it comes to personalities, I don't feel like we were very compatible. And then when it comes to my first boyfriend, again, same thing. I was like very manipulative of him, and I just was not patient with him because he was pursuing a hobby. It had to do with filming, actually. And I wonder if he ever continued that or if he gave up completely on that, whatever. But he was always trying to talk me into filming with him. And I kept saying no and no and no. And the reason being that I do not enjoy the aspect of putting a movie together, which is you find the setting, you set your equipment, you if it's something that's scripted, you perhaps rehearse it, or better yet, you gotta learn some stuff, memorize your lines, memorize how you're supposed to react, the instructions, whatever. And I was just so unwilling. I was always the one killing the fun. Like, he would spoil me getting involved in the stuff that was fun for me, but when it comes to his stuff and his ideas and his hobbies, unless it was video games, I was so unwilling. And now that I think about it, he was patient with me because maybe there was something about me that he didn't stand, but he didn't whine or complain about it. He never told me anything negative. So I have to assume that given how difficult I was to deal with as a person, as a girlfriend, he was being patient with me and I was not being patient with him. So, because of that, I can imagine that although I was the one who broke that relationship and my second relationship off, that means that I was the impatient one. And had I been a little more patient, I can imagine that the two of us, or well, yeah, the two of us on those separate occasions would have made stuff work. See what I mean? So, and then recently I've been experiencing that challenge again, which is there is so much potential for me to have a better personal life, have a improve a relationship perhaps, but at the same time, because of my past experiences, I have been very defensive about it. I'm like, no, I see the stuff that it's not gonna make this work, and that's what I'm focusing on, because I have been so disappointed in the past that when it comes to my personal life and relationships, I don't have patience like that anymore, and I guess that is my biggest downfall. But at least outside of that, as a person who's a part of someone else's life, not in a personal level, I feel like I am incredibly patient. Like, I don't feel people are giving me their backs, or they're talking behind my back, or they're like, oh, Zam is unbearable, or here she comes. Quite the contrary. I feel like people welcome me more and tolerate me more and they want me around more. And I'm very happy about that. But when it comes to my personal life, I just have so many defenses going on right now that maybe I just need to start off by giving patience to myself, but I'm not sure how to go about that because all that I see is trouble. I have given so much time and effort in the past to my personal life on matters that I know I should have let go of. So I feel like I may be presently encountering something like that where I need to determine whether it's time to really let go and move on, or if there's something that this can be worked on. Because, I just feel that I always have the right resources with me and by my side, but something happens that makes me focus on that negative thing that's happening, and then I become blinded to anything else, and then I may disguise it as, oh, it's just that my past is what's making me behave in such a way. See what I mean? But anyways, um I'm not sure how this is gonna go. I'm not sure what's gonna happen or what, but anyways, I just felt like I would get that out there because I find that if only as adults we had the same level of patience and understanding that we show kids, like I hope that you show patience to kids. Like when it comes to a child, if they're misbehaving, you try to diagnose it. Like, okay, maybe he's hungry, maybe he's sick, maybe he's in pain, maybe he hasn't slept well, stuff like that. Whereas with adults, you have an expectation out of them. Like, why are you not behaving well? Why are you so bad at this? Why are you not doing this? As opposed to trying to just be observant and being like, you know what, you have had a rough week, you have been having physical problems, and imagine how much different it would be if you went up to someone and, as opposed to, say, bitching to them about the stuff that you haven't done in the house, you actually go like, I understand that you have not been feeling well lately and you seem to be experiencing challenges when it comes to focusing on some matters. What can we do to fix it? Displaying that patience. Imagine if every single person tried thinking that way. Like, as opposed to immediately attacking someone for being inefficient, how about if you actually try to understand them? And if something that's important doesn't get done, you are not yelling about it, you're not biting their heads off about it, but instead you're actually trying to work things through, and you just like sigh a little more peacefully relieved, as opposed to just like like I said, trying to bite someone's head off. I used to be that person. I used to be that girl who's like, oh my fucking god, why can you not do this? Why can you not do that? How are you so bad at this? you know. But nowadays, people who know me well know that if I say something like that, you need to know how to read me. You'll notice in my tone that I'm being a complete troll about it. Like, oh my god, how did you get so terrible? As opposed to legitimately looking and sounding upset because I legitimately am upset. That's different now. But this is some things that I just wish I would have known earlier in my life, and who knows where I would be now. But anyways, that's enough rambling, and I know you guys are commenting, so let me see what you're saying. What the hell is that in the corner? Oh, it says fucking. Anyways, sounds like your first and second boyfriends were pretty nice. Yes, they were. As a matter of fact, they were. My first boyfriend was. He used to live pretty far, but he was definitely up there when it comes to the level of sweetness. He, I bugged him about something so much because back then I didn't know how to really obtain stuff online, like buy games and stuff. I was looking for the document of Metal Gear Solid 2 everywhere. I became obsessed with having that. And I kept bugging him about it, bugging him about it, bugging him about it. And he ended up finding it on eBay and he just bought it for me because I was being such a bug about it. It wasn't even about the money, it was about his resourcefulness. Like, you got a credit card or a card, period, or your parents have a card, whatever. My mom doesn't. So get it for me. So he was just so nice about it, so sweet about it. Like, even though I was bugging him day and night, he was nice about it. And then my second boyfriend was, he would also spoil the crap out of me, even though I didn't deserve it at times. Like, he was actually ahead of the game because he had a job, he had a car, and we also lived a little far away. We lived in the same town, but within the same town, it was a little distant. But eventually, I moved to another city, and he would still come to that city. And then eventually, I moved out of state, and then I came back. but to an even farther city. And he would still come to see me. Like, we reconciled after I returned from this interstate trip. And then he was just there for me consistently and even helped me pay my bills one time when the situation got very difficult. So there they were, giving me support, giving me my place as their girl. But for some reason, I just could not be appreciative enough. I could not be nice enough. I could not be like, just what was wrong with me? Why am I taking these guys for granted so much? And the worst part about it is that they wouldn't complain. The only time that I heard something bad was I think it was my first boyfriend. He told me something like, "Why aren't you nicer?" And I'm like, I don't have to be fucking nice to you. Like, I just had an attitude. I had a major attitude problem. And when I think about it, I just had such a low self esteem. And maybe that is rooted from the fact that I associated every single guy as being like my dad, like very old fashioned, very, I'm the man in the house, so therefore you are like subjugated to me, or, like I'm inferior. I felt inferior for a long time. It took me like until I was well into my adult years, I did not feel any better about myself. So, but I'm just grateful that I was able to move past that, even though some aspects still haunt me here and there. But anyways, I'm not going to give up. I'm sure that life is just going to do its thing and it's gonna work out for me in the end. But what I like about it is that at least I'm aware, even though the moment that I am experiencing my frustration and I am voicing it, I don't have the best behavior and I may not even treat the person who's involved as nicely. But at the end of the day, if I know that I did wrong or if I regret it or change my mind, I always like bring myself back around, or the person involved just realizes that they're patient. So they're like, oh, she's expressed that she's had a bad week. She has expressed that she is in pain. So let me just be patient, give her time, be there with her, and then brings me back around. It's strange, it's difficult, it's complicated, but anyways, it's just feelings and emotions. Maybe the way I feel now and the way that my, what can I say, emotional circumstances are going to be absolutely remote in the future. Like, I don't even know where I'll be. Nobody knows that. But I like to think about that. I like to, when I calm myself and regain like sanity, I'm like, I just got to remember that the way my life is now is not how it has to be for the rest of my life. But it's easier said than done, but at least I'm aware. And there was a time in my life when I wasn't aware of any of this. And I think that's what made me come off as a terrible person. But anyways, let's see what are you guys saying. Um, Garuda says hello, hello. Why do you put up so many defenses? Honestly, the reason I put up so many defenses is for the same reason that everyone else would, which is you've been hurt so much in the past and you've gone through so much bullshit that anything that reminds you of it or triggers a memory of those circumstances in the past that made you feel uh, miserable, that's how you respond. But the problem with me is that even though I know deep down that this person means no harm, my instinct is I once trusted someone whom I believed had good intentions with me, and I ended up being destroyed for a while. So nowadays, I'm just not taking any chances. So that's the best summed up version that I can give you. I have to be honest, I missed the opportunity to get married. 15 years later, I still regret marrying that female. I don't want to upset you, but your daddy sounds like a jerk. It doesn't upset me. Honestly, he is a jerk, or, well, he was a jerk. Because in the present, I have not interacted with him, spent enough time with him, or hung out with him enough to be able to confirm for you guys that he still has jerk ways. But my mother did catch up with him fairly recently as a few months ago, and she tells me that he has actually changed quite a lot. And I'm like, it's about time. Like, you get old. When you get old, at some point, some stuff you have to improve on and just become better at. And you cannot just behave like a teen forever or like someone in your early or mid 20s, like me in my mid 20s. I feel like I'm actually more chill than I thought I would be. I thought that I would be a whole lot like hyper and angrier, but I'm not. But when I think about him specifically, some stuff I think he is still behind on from what my mom told me, as in thinking in a very old fashioned way. But I mean, everyone has their own identity, so maybe that's just the way he is, especially given his generational circumstances, meaning that time period in which he was growing up impeded him from seeing things in a little bit more of a broader spectrum. And you can't really blame him for that. He's just what can I say? A consequence of his times. But because he was not corrected when it comes to that, that wasn't mended early enough in his life, it's what he retained. So, um, at least, at least, it's good to know that he has progressed. And that way, whatever his future looks like, um, I feel confident that no one else has to be condemned to go through the same stuff that I went through. I think that's what's important. The sad part is I cannot contact her and tell her I am sorry. I missed the opportunity and she's gone forever from my life. She went ghost. I really miss her. Who was your favorite boyfriend? When it comes to that, Garuda, I can sort of imagine and understand your feeling because I always feel a little bit haunted by people from my past who I don't have an opportunity to like redeem myself with. Like, hey, do you remember that time when I used to be so mean and steal your toys and, do this and that? I'm so sorry, this and that. No matter what, how stupid it is, you just want to go back and let that person know that you regret it, period. And then my favorite boyfriend, well, of course, I guess I should say my current one. But when it comes to my exes thus far, honestly, anyone whom I have dated, I think I have to say has been my favorite person at some point in my life. So it's kind of difficult to just sit here and decide on one. And also, in the hypothetical event that they come across the stream and they actually sit there and listen to this, I don't want for them to be like, I won this, I won the competition against you, I was better than you when you were with the girl. Because think about it, it's kind of psychological. You have, let's start like with me. I have my first boyfriend. To me, that's going to be the most amazing guy ever. He won me over. But then we broke up. The next guy has to either surpass or at least fulfill me enough to be better than this guy. He cannot be the same as the guy that I'm just done with because the guy I just got done with did not work. So you have to be better. And then say, following that, whoever comes after my second boyfriend, it's like, okay, you are now following my first two boyfriends. So you have to be better than my other two, my past two. See what I mean? So it's like the more time that passes, the higher the bar gets set. So I guess the more recent of a boyfriend you are, the more likely it is that you're going to be the best one I have had, especially if you're the current one. So, see what I mean? That's the tricky part. So honestly, I want to say that they were all especially good, uniquely to them, but because they are different people, it's hard to compare. It's not like a product that you can be like, okay, there's this brand of chocolate milk versus this one. This one is better because it's creamier, whereas this one seems to be a little more sugary. So therefore, I like this one better. See what I mean? So with guys, it's kind of like they are many variations of the same thing, the same product. So I hope that answers your question. It's just that it's difficult for me to be like, okay, nah, this guy was better than this one, because it, you have to progress from that. So I want to say that my first boyfriend was the worst, but he really wasn't a bad guy. Neither was the second one. We were just incompatible. So when the situation comes across like that, where it's incompatibility that makes you split, it's difficult to pick a favorite. Because if I would have been in a relationship in which I was like physically abused or something, then of course it'll be very obvious to determine who has been the worst thus far. But yeah, I can't say I have gone through that. So yeah. From London. Greetings, United States. I just hope she has a happy life and gets married. All I want to tell her is sorry for not being there for you. That means you're projecting your issues with your ex onto someone else. Yeah, that's true. I'm not gonna lie. Every time I started a new relationship after those, I had to bring up my past. I had to bring up why it ended, what hurt me the most, why I was frustrated, what still frustrates me, what I wish could have been better, what I wish would have been different. But at least I understand that life doesn't have to be figured out right now. And I just take everything as an opportunity to just learn and be better. And I think that's what's important. As long as you walk out of a relationship and you've learned something that you can take with you and make your future relationships better, I would consider that relationship a success, even if it has ended. Um, and I guess that helps you when you're processing the end of a relationship, it helps you process it a little more positively as opposed to just thinking about it in a, this thing failed, so I'm frustrated and I am going to dwell on that frustration. I think that would be a very toxic behavior to have. If you know what I mean, and I'm expressing it right. I hope your current boyfriend appreciates how beautiful and special you are. Well, I hope so too. Because sometimes, I guess, you can get so caught up in your life, and even though you feel it and you sense it in you, you take someone for granted. And I think that becomes a big problem when you become so comfortable with someone that you just assume that they're going to be there forever just because you have overcome difficulties in the past, difficulties that seemed like they were completely going to like blow away the house and tear down the castle, the sand castle, but at least I feel confident that each passing day, each passing year, I become better. And I think that's an indication that stuff is going in the right direction, despite all the adversities. All right, guys, I will conclude my rambling right here because I am getting ready to head out since it's Sunday, and of course, everything has to close earlier on Sundays just as they do on Fridays. Well, Fridays, they don't close things early, it's just that their stuff is open late, but then too many people tend to gather, so I postpone it until the slower day of the week. So I just need to head out, get ready, and who knows, maybe I'll go and stop by the movie theater because there is a new Marvel movie out there, and you guys know that your girl needs to see her Marvel stuff. So we'll see. I will consider going to see a Venom. So if I go see a Venom, you guys will see a review on that. And if you don't see a review on that, nudge me about it if I mention going to see it. And Steve says he likes my food reviews. I will try to keep those coming. It's just that filming something else that's not a stream is kind of awkward for me because I just have the worst setup ever in my house, in my car, and it doesn't really support a camera, but I'm never going to use that as an excuse. I'll always keep trying to do what I can. So, yeah, there's this other idea for a food video that I need to show you guys that's been pending for the past 2 years, ever since I started filming. But it's going to be a long one, so I'm trying to figure out a way of how to trim it to where the main stuff gets shown, but also I don't burn down my house because it's actually me cooking it. So yeah. Anyways, you guys know that I'm always here trying to bring random stuff. So we'll get around to that. But I'm glad that you like the food videos because I know that those aren't very like fun, I guess, or very commentable. But anyways, make more food porn vids or cat vids. All right, I'll consider that. I have a ton of clips of Dusty in my camera roll that I just need to get around to editing. And I just don't know what to do with those yet, but the magical inspiration fairy shall land in my shoulder and just show me the way. But, anyways, I'll be around. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.